You can do it from doubt to determination. Ladies and gentlemen, there was a time when I believed I couldn't. A time when doubt held my hand tighter than hope ever did. A time when every reflection in the mirror whispered, "You're not enough." And maybe you felt that way too. Maybe you've looked at yourself and questioned your worth, your ability, your purpose. But today I stand before you to tell you one simple truth. You can do it. Life has a way of testing us, not to break us, but to prove to us how strong we are. You might fail, and that's okay. You might fall, and that's okay too. But what's not okay is giving up before you even try. Because every failure is a stepping stone, every scar tells a story, and every setback is simply a setup for a greater comeback. There will be voices of doubt, of fear, of those who don't believe in you, but the loudest voice, the one that matters most, is the one inside you. What is it telling you? Because if you let it, that voice can either hold you back or push you forward. Choose to let it push you forward. Choose to let it say, "I am capable, I am strong, I am enough." Just, you don't have to see the finish line right now. You don't need to have it all figured out. All you need to do is take one step, just one. Because that step will lead to another and another, until one day you look back and realize that you've conquered what once felt impossible. You are not your past. You are not your failures. You are not your pain. You are stronger than you think, braver than you believe, and more powerful than you ever imagined. Embrace the power of failure. There was a time when I thought failure was the end. That when you fail, it means you're not good enough, not strong enough, not worthy enough. But life has a way of teaching us that failure is not a full stop. It's just a comma. It's a pause, a moment of reflection, a chance to stand up and try again. You see, we grow up believing that failure is something to be ashamed of. That if we fall, we should hide our faces. That if we don't succeed, we should stop trying. But have you ever thought that failure is actually life's greatest teacher? That in every setback, there is a lesson waiting to be learned? Failure is not rejection. It's redirection. It's life telling you, not this way, but that way. It's life pushing you towards something greater, something bigger than what you had planned for yourself. Sometimes the doors we desperately want to walk through remain closed because we are meant to build our own doors, our own paths, our own journeys. I have failed many times, and every single time I thought it was the end. But what I didn't realize was that failure was shaping me. That the pieces of me that broke in those moments were coming back together to form a stronger version of myself. Think about it. When a seed is buried under the ground, does it complain about the darkness? No. It embraces the struggle, it fights through the soil, it pushes toward the light. And one day it becomes something beautiful, something that stands tall, something that gives back to the world. That's what failure does to us. It buries us only to prepare us for growth. It challenges us only to make us stronger. It breaks us only to rebuild us into something unshakable. So the next time you fail, don't ask, "Why me?" Instead, ask, "What is this trying to teach me?" Because if you look closely, failure is not your enemy, it's your greatest opportunity. Your pain is your strength. Pain, a word we fear, a feeling we try to escape. We are told that pain is something to avoid, something to suppress, something that makes us weak. But have you ever thought that maybe, just maybe, your pain is your greatest strength? Before we launch into the story, everything is green. It's like Philippine brew pitchcock. Life has a way of testing us, breaking us, and leaving us with scars. Scars that we try to hide because we think they make us look damaged. But let me tell you something. Your scars are not signs of weakness. They are proof that you survived, that you endured, that despite everything, you are still here. When I first faced pain, I thought it was the end. I thought I had lost everything. My dreams, my future, my identity. But pain has a way of teaching you things that comfort never will. Pain introduces you to a version of yourself that you never knew existed. A version that is resilient, a version that refuses to give up, a version that is unbreakable. We all go through struggles, some visible, some hidden. But the truth is, your pain is shaping you. It is molding you into the person you were always meant to be. Without pain, there is no growth. Without struggle, there is no strength. Without loss, there is no appreciation for what truly matters. Think of a diamond. Do you know how it's formed? It is just a piece of coal that went through unbearable pressure, unimaginable heat, complete darkness, and yet, through all of that, it transforms into something rare, something priceless, something that shines. You, too, are being shaped by your pain. You, too, are in the process of becoming something unshakable. So instead of running from your pain, embrace it. Let it teach you. Let it strengthen you. Let it turn you into a light for others who are still searching for hope in their own darkness. Because one day you will look back and realize that the very thing that once broke you was actually the thing that built you. Own your story. There was a time when I wanted to erase my story. A time when I thought if I ignored my pain, if I stayed silent, maybe the world wouldn't see my scars. Maybe they wouldn't ask questions. Maybe I wouldn't have to explain why I wasn't like everybody else. But life has a way of showing you that no matter how much you try to hide from your story, it will always be a part of you. And the moment you stop running from it, the moment you stop feeling ashamed of it, that is the moment you take back your power. We all have stories. Some are filled with victories, some with heartbreaks. Some have chapters of loss, of disappointment, of unimaginable struggle. And sometimes we look at our stories and think, why me? Why did I have to go through this? Why couldn't my journey be easier? But have you ever thought that maybe your story isn't meant to break you? It's meant to inspire someone else? Maybe the challenges you faced weren't meant to silence you, but to give you a voice that someone, somewhere needs to hear. You see, the world will always try to tell you who you should be. It will tell you to be quieter, to be smaller, to fit into boxes that were never meant for you. But the truth is You are the only one who gets to write your story. You are not your past. You are not your failures. You are not what happened to you. You are who you choose to become. So don't be afraid of your story. Own it. Every painful chapter, every scar, every setback, because they are what make you, you. And there's nothing more powerful than a person who stands tall and says, this is who I am, this is my journey, and I am proud of it. Because the moment you own your story, the world has no choice but to listen. Surround yourself with believers. There was a time when I believed I couldn't. Not because I was incapable, but because the voice around me told me so. You're not strong enough. You're not smart enough. This is impossible for you. And for the longest time, I let those words become my reality. I let them shape my thoughts, my dreams, my self-worth. But life has a way of teaching us that the people we surround ourselves with can either build us or break us. They can either fill our hearts with courage or with fear. They can either remind us of our strength or make us believe in our weaknesses. You see, doubt is contagious. When you share your dreams with the wrong people, they plant seeds of uncertainty in your mind. What if you fail? What if you're not good enough? What if it's not meant for you? And before you even take the first step, you begin to believe them. But belief is also contagious. When you surround yourself with people who see your potential, even when you don't, they remind you that you are capable. They lift you up when you feel like giving up. They push you forward when you're too scared to move. So ask yourself, who are you listening to? Who are you allowing to speak into your life? Because the people you surround yourself with will either become the wind beneath your wings or the chains that hold you back. Find those who believe in you, those who celebrate your success, but also stand by you in your failures. Those who remind you of your worth, not because of what you achieve, but because of who you are. And if you can't find those people, become that person for yourself. Speak to yourself the way a believer would. Encourage yourself the way a dreamer would. Because sometimes the most important believer you need is the one staring back at you in the mirror. Take one step at a time. There was a time when I stood at the edge of my dreams, staring at the long road ahead, feeling completely overwhelmed. How will I get there? What if I fail? What if I never make it? And in that moment of doubt, I forgot the simplest truth. I didn't have to get there all at once. I just had to take one step. Life has a way of making us believe that we need to have everything figured out before we begin, that we need to see the entire path, the whole staircase, before we take the first step. But the truth is, you don't need to have all the answers. You just need to begin. Think about the sun. It doesn't rush to shine all at once. It rises slowly, spreading light little by little. Think about a tree. It doesn't grow overnight. It starts as a tiny seed, breaking through the soil, reaching for the sky, 1 inch at a time. Why then do we expect ourselves to have everything figured out instantly? Why do we believe that if we can't do everything, we shouldn't do anything at all? Progress is progress, no matter how small. Some days, your step forward may feel big. Other days, it may feel tiny. And sometimes just getting out of bed, just choosing to believe in yourself one more time is a step forward. No matter how slow, no matter how difficult, every single step counts. So don't be afraid of how long the journey looks. Don't let the fear of the unknown hold you back. Instead of asking, how will I get there? Ask, what can I do today? Because the truth is, you don't have to see the whole road. You don't have to have all the answers. All you need to do is take the next step. Speak to yourself with love. For the longest time, I was my own worst critic. Every time I looked in the mirror, I saw everything I wasn't. Every time I made a mistake, I told myself I wasn't good enough. Every time life knocked me down, I whispered to myself, maybe I deserve this. And I believed it. But life has a way of showing you that the words you tell yourself become the world you live in. If you speak to yourself with doubt, you will live in fear. If you speak to yourself with kindness, you will live in strength. We are taught to be kind to others, to uplift them, to encourage them, to remind them of their worth. But why is it that when it comes to ourselves, we forget? Why is it that we find it so easy to show love to the world, yet so difficult to show love to the person staring back at us in the mirror? I have learned that the most important conversation you will ever have is the one you have with yourself, because the world might tell you that you are not enough. People may question your abilities, your dreams, your journey, but the real question is, what do you tell yourself? Do you tell yourself that you are unworthy, or do you remind yourself that you are capable? Do you replay your failures, or do you celebrate your resilience? Because the way you speak to yourself in your hardest moments will decide whether you rise again or stay on the ground. Imagine talking to yourself the way you would talk to a dear friend. Would you criticize them for every mistake? Would you remind them of every failure? Or would you hold their hand and say, you are strong, you are worthy, you are enough? So today I ask you, what words will you choose? Because the words you speak to yourself are the seeds you plant in your heart, and one day they will grow into the reality you live in. You can do it. My friends, life will test you. It will throw obstacles in your path, fill your mind with doubt, and make you question your own worth. But in those moments, remember this: you are stronger than you think, braver than you believe, and more capable than you ever imagined. Your failures do not define you. They shape you. Your pain is not your weakness, it is your strength. Your story is not something to be ashamed of, it is your power. The voices of doubt may be loud, but the voice that truly matters is the one inside you. Make sure it speaks with love, with courage, with belief. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to see the entire journey ahead. All you need to do is take one step at a time. Surround yourself with those who lift you up, but most importantly, become that person for yourself. And whenever life makes you question if you're capable, if you're worthy, if you can do it, stand tall, take a deep breath, and remind yourself